Joining the post-game pint. I'm John Bonnes from Twins Daily. I'll be your host. Before I introduce our panelists, there's a couple things you can look for. We want you guys to drive the discussion. So I want to call your attention to a couple of things. You'll find a Q&A area for questions in your Zoom webinar. You'll find a chat area where you can discuss topics or respond to us. And we'll start to get you to use that by asking what your post-game pint is. Let's see what those are, and let me see some of the responses. And then finally, you'll see that you can raise your hand if you want me to unmute you and you want to join the discussion. Raise your hand, and I'll try to get to you. With that, let's introduce our panelists, and they can tell us what their post-game pint is tonight. Matt Braun, let's start with you.
All right, cool. I'm Matt Braun. Guess I'm a Twins Daily writer. That's why I'm here, I suppose. I got the nice jerseys behind me. I'm actually in Washington. That's where I live. So I'm a bit of a faker. I'm sorry. I'm not from Minneapolis or Minnesota or anything. Right now,
that's your nickname, actually. That's your nickname, actually.
Is it now? I didn't know that. That's news to me.
Sorry. Yeah.
But right now, I got a fat tire. Got it in a nice Twins beer cozy. Although, if you did this last year, I would not be able to join you because I just turned 21 this year. So.
Yeah, I know. I gotta tell people this. We had a Twins Daily writer get together, and I think about 5 or 6 of us met at Brothers, which is where we always hold the Winter Meltdown, and only 2 of us could drink.
Yep, you and Andrew.
me and Givo. Yep. Lucas, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Lucas Seehafer. I've been writing for Twins Daily since January, February, somewhere in there, right before spring training started. Mostly focus on athlete health and performance. I'm a physical therapist by day, wannabe journalist by night. I write for a bunch of other websites as well. But tonight,
you're Wolf Among Wolves, right?
Yeah, Wolf Among Wolves. I'm the managing editor. I also write for Forbes and then a fan-sided website as well. Tonight, I've got a Wheat Sweats by Bauhaus Brewing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique beer. It's like banana flavored.
I've had that. It was very good.
Yeah, it's good.
And Nick Nelson, also of TwinsDaily.com, longtime contributor to TwinsDaily.com. Nick, what's your post-game point today?
I teased on Twitter that I was going to be drinking a Modest because I thought I had one in my fridge, but I do not. So I've lied.
That's worse.
I do have it is a Fair State Brewing Co-op, which I know is one that you like, John, and it is a double universe.
Oh, that's what I had.
Oh,
I had
nice.
that last week. That was that's the double dry hop Mirror Universe. Mirror Universe is one of my favorite hazy.
Very, very tasty beer.
Did you notice the ABV on that yet, Nick?
Yeah, it was like 8.6.
8.6. That is.
Yeah, so we'll have a fun one here. Should get all the more fun as we go along.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, let's Twins win tonight, 3-0 over the Cardinals. Rich Hill's first start is also the 5th game the Twins have played, so we've now had them go through the rotation exactly once. I think that's telling because we're going to be going through that same rotation 12 times. It was so especially telling to see how Rich Hill did today. A home run by Eddie Rosario, a run-scoring double by Nelson Cruz. They got to a starting pitcher early again. They didn't score a lot of runs this time, but he was at 53 pitches through 2 innings. Matt, what is your takeaway from this game? What do you want to talk about?
So what I want to talk about, the one guy I wanted to bring up was Tyler Duffy because he came in again, had a 1-2-3 inning, struck out the side. And I want to bring him up because he has just been ridiculous since last season, which it just blows my mind considering where he was in the years before. Just kind of that stereotypical quad A type of guy, quote unquote. Just dominated AAA but can never put it together at the majors for whatever reason. And then, Wes Johnson sprinkles his pixie dust or what have you. And now suddenly he's one of the better relievers in all of baseball, honestly. I looked at his numbers before here. I don't have them up because I got to have this up. But it was comparable to Taylor Rogers last year. Rogers had like 12 more innings and a few more ground balls. But Duffy, as far as ERA, FIP, and XFIP goes, was right there with him pretty much along the entire way. So I just wanted to bring him up. He had another great outing. I feel like he's one of those X-Factor types where it's just like, if he continues to perform like this, if this is truly who he is going forward, you're going to be seeing a really strong bullpen. Probably one of the best straight up, maybe in Twins history. I don't know. Let's get crazy with it. Why not?
Nick, Lucas, any observations on Duffy?
Yeah, well, I guess just to springboard, I guess, off what Matt was saying, I mean, the bullpen in general has just been amazing. If you subtract the Littell and Smeltzer fiasco from Saturday, the Litteltzer meltdown, as I call it, they have allowed 1 run in 18 innings, and they've got like 28 strikeouts. I mean, it's an incredible unit. I saw Justin in the chat ask which bullpens are better than Minnesota. Maybe none. This might be the best bullpen in the league, and it's certainly looking like an advantage that they're going to have over Cleveland, who's having some issues. Brad Hand melted down tonight, and Duffy's looking like a problem for them. So, if the Twins have the best bullpen in the division and pretty clearly the best offense in the division, they're going to be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah.
I also liked how Duffy was used tonight. The Cardinals' strength is they've got a pretty good top of the order. Their weakness is they don't have a very good bottom of the order. They're not a very deep team offensively. They've got good starting pitching, good relief pitching. That's what we learned about the Cardinals. They brought Duffy in the 6th inning, even though he's one of their higher leverage arms, to face the top of that order, which he struck out. Struck out all three guys he faced, right? And it was I was glad to see Baldelli leverage, I guess, the strength of the bullpen against the strength of the Cardinals lineup when he did.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily something we've seen in recent Twins history.
No.
Using the closer, it has to be in the 9th inning. The setup guy has to be in the 8th inning. So just that the Twins have so much versatility that they can just unleash these arms at any point over the course of the night, face any part of the lineup. I think it is going to be huge for the Twins moving forward.
Yeah, that's what we saw from Gardenhire for 15 years, and then Molitor came in and started using the eighth inning guy in the 6th inning as well. But then he'd also pitch the 6th and the 7th and the 8th to protect the 3-run lead. Lucas, how about you? What would your take away from tonight's game?
Yeah, I might be stealing somebody's topic here, but it's got to be Rich Hill. He was such a key acquisition for the Twins this offseason. A lot of people wondering how he was going to hold up after coming off his quasi-experimental elbow surgery and being at the quote-unquote advanced stage that he is. But from a rehab or a sports performance standpoint, what I was really looking forward to tonight is tracking his kind of fastball velocity. He's not a fireballer, so I'm not expecting anything in the mid 90s or anything like that, but to see if he could carry that fastball velocity as the night goes on, I think that would really highlight kind of where he is in his recovery process. And for the most part, his speed was consistent throughout the innings. I kind of kept a running track of his fastball speeds, and it was 89.9 in the 1st inning and 88.3 in the 5th inning, and he only went 60 some odd pitches. So I think it would be hard for anybody to come away from tonight's performance thinking that Rich Hill's not at kind of optimized functioning as you would expect him to function at this point coming off that injury.
Yeah, I mean, to me he was the most important factor for this game, and frankly he was the most important wild card for this team coming into this year, because he can either be an ace, I mean, literally ace level, or he could have been somebody who they just can't use at all because he's too old or too hurt or whatever. I was surprised to just see him rely just so much on a low 90s fastball or high 80s fastball, as you kind of point out, right, and a curve, and that's it.
Yeah, by my count, he threw 68 pitches, and by my count, 33 were fastballs and 35 were breaking balls. So I maybe missed a changeup or something like that, but I pretty much only saw fastballs and breaking balls.
Yeah, it was really it was fun to watch such a vintage pitching performance. Just an old school 89 mile per hour fastball, 2-pitch mix from a 40-year-old pitcher in the throwback baby blues, which I think the unanimous opinion on the baby blues is that those things are money. They looked really good out there tonight, and Rich Hill looked really good in him.
Nick, what was your takeaway from tonight's game?
I guess, everything was pretty good. I would say this was a game that was felt a little more in doubt, but it didn't really. None of the games have felt in doubt at all thus far, which is interesting, and I think speaks well to the Twins. I mean, they've been getting a lead and never really even letting it get threatened. I mean, Clippard ran into a little bit of trouble there, but got his way out of it pretty easily. So it's been interesting that in these 3 victories, they really haven't had to sweat at all. If there was one thing that individually is kind of sticking with me, I guess just to spin things a little on the negative side, Josh Donaldson, he's definitely got the strength. It seems like his bat is a little slow right now. And it was really evident when he swung on that 3-0 fastball and just was way behind it. I mean, granted, it was like a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, but I don't think we've seen him turn on a ball yet this year. He's had some hard hit balls the opposite way, including the home run. But, I hopefully he's just a little behind and just catching up his swing. But that's kind of what's really struck me so far is he's just still not quite catching up to the ball.
No, I'm with you on that one, Nick. I was, it's easy to mock people coming out of the first 3-game series and say, okay, yeah, he was 1 for 10. I think he's going to be all right. I still think you can still wonder. I still think feels comfortable that he's going to be all right. The question is sort of, when is he going to be all right? Because I think it's fairly clear that he's not all right. He's having trouble. He's having trouble either making an adjustment or adjusting to the role that he's in, or the pressure that comes along with being a high-priced free agent. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, or if he was trying to do something. It seemed to me like he's really trying to go to the opposite field a lot. But Donaldson looks a little bit lost for somebody that's batting second in the lineup. We should be having some real technical issues here. I'm wondering how well people can hear me and such. I'm gonna carry this a little bit while I wait for hopefully some of this bandwidth problems or technical problems to resolve. My takeaway from the game, one of the things I noticed I wanted to talk about was I really liked seeing Luis Arraez at the top of this lineup. I understand the decision to have Kepler be where he was so comfortable last year, and to have the year that he had. He was basically tied on my ballot for the Twins MVP last year. So I understand not wanting to move him around. But Luis Arraez is made for the top of this order. And frankly, I think Kepler could do a lot of damage, possibly batting where Rosario is right now. I don't want to go after Rosario too much because he had home run tonight, and he's been a productive player. But that first inning rally, he did a nice job of drawing out that bat, and he was patient, and he got a 3-2 count, and then he went and chased ball 4, and the rally ended, with on the verge of knocking out their starting pitcher again in the first inning. I think Arraez is just so natural up there, does such a nice job of taking so many pitches, does such a nice job of getting on base. Is really a professional hitter up there. I just feel like the offense would click better with him in the leadoff spot and leveraging Kepler's bat more towards the middle of the lineup, maybe sliding Rosario a little bit down, than kind of sticking Arraez down at the bottom of the lineup. And I guess I would wonder if any of you guys have any – am I crazy to suggest moving Kepler out of the leadoff spot for Arraez?
I've always felt they should, personally. Oh, by the way, John, we can all hear you perfectly fine. It sounds like in the chat everyone's hearing you
good.
fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, it seems that it's hard to describe why Arraez kind of fits in the leadoff spot. It just feels like it's one of those things, you're just like, it just feels right. The only thing I'd say is that, and this is like the hyper nerd stuff, is like lineup optimization isn't quite as important as a lot of people may think it is. A lot of studies have done on it that even a fully optimized lineup may squeeze about 10 to 15 runs out over the course of an entire season, which, if obviously those are free runs, so you should do it, but it may not be as important as people think. And Kepler still at the end of the day gets on base at a great rate. I'm not sure who has a higher OBP right now, Arraez or Kepler, and also consider the fact that Kepler's had way more playing time than Arraez. So that kind of influences the stats. I'm more willing to lean towards Kepler in the leadoff, and I like this idea of almost making a second leadoff position in the 8 and 9 to kind of then reset up Kepler in the 1. If you kind of catch what I'm saying there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
get
it's interesting because, I mean, it's a good point about like how much, in terms of the mathematical equation, does it really matter? But there's a mental aspect, right, of just coming out of the gates with a guy who is probably maybe the toughest out in baseball. I mean, this guy never gives away a plate appearance. So there's part of that, but there's also part of me that says maybe it's just as good to have that looming at the bottom of the order, and just knowing that it's waiting for you. And then you turn it over to the top of the order and he's going to be on base for you so much. So you really can't go wrong.
No, it's just, I mean, listen, it's good to have good hitters no matter where you put them in the lineup. I really enjoyed watching Arise sort of lead off that group on a regular basis today. So let's see if there's any questions in the well, I know one thing you already brought up, Nick, and people have been talking about it all night on Twitter to the point where my wife was ready to mute the words blue uniform on her Twitter feed. What do we think, gang? I presume everybody's loving the baby blues. I mean, I've loved the baby blues since I saw the baby blues used back in the early 80s. I've had the baby blue Bomba Rivera shirt since for years and years and years. I don't know. I guess the question is sort of like, how much do we like them? Are they the best best uniform we've seen in recent history, or we're going to wait a little while before the jury's in on that?
To me, in terms of throwback, alternate type of unis, they are the best. I do love the Twins just straight up home uniforms, but those things are just gorgeous. Use those for all these kinds of events.
Yeah, I think they're amazing too. Though I would argue that the Twins should use them kind of like how the Wolves used the Prince jerseys a couple seasons ago. Just pop them in there every now and then. Really help people savor. You don't want to get used to that baby blue. You want to keep it special.
Can't overdo it.
I mean, I'm with there. I like the baby blues. Although I'm in that position. I like all their jerseys except for like the kind of red one because it looks like a softball jersey to me. But that's kind of whatever to me. I don't have like really strong opinions on this, but the baby blues are nice.
All right. Are the Twins going to win 50 games? Asks Lindy. What do you guys think? I wouldn't put it out of the realm.
Well, let me ask a more recent question, because this is the question I asked you guys. I want to have one question of the night that I would like to hear from the listeners in the chat, and I want to hear from you guys what your take is. They are about to start a 4-game series versus Cleveland. Cleveland lost tonight, so the Twins come into that series with a half-game lead over Cleveland. If I set the over-under at 2.5 versus Cleveland, who, by the way, pushed Bieber off a day. I was thinking Bieber would be pitching the 1st and 6th game of the season. Somehow now he's pitching the 1st and 7th game of the season. So we will see him. I would think we will see it line up with Bieber, Clevenger, Carrasco. I'm not actually sure who the fourth one is. Who they've got lined up for the 4th day.
Savali? Probably.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, how many do they take versus Cleveland? Over or under 2.5?
Well, my heart says over. My head, if I'm a betting man, says under. I think, I would, if I'm the Twins, I'm happy if I escaped out of there 2-2. Like you said, they're going against Cleveland's top dogs. So if you can come out of that series with 2 wins and you don't lose, give up any ground to Cleveland, I think you got to consider that a win.
Nick?
Well, I was going to take the under to try to be reasonable, but Lucas stole my thunder. So I'm going to take the over and say they win at least 3. I think the Twins are a significantly better team than Cleveland. They're getting them at home. They're feeling good. And Cleveland now, I mean, I think they've used Brad Hand on 2 straight days, and I don't know if they'd want to use him again tomorrow either way. And that's a big hit to their bullpen. They got a really good young rookie whose name I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm just not going to say it. But But they lost a few guys, including Clippard, who came to the Twins. And so it's like, they definitely have a great rotation, but we have yet to see any pitcher. I mean, Keuchel kind of stymied him a little bit, but even amazing pitchers are going to have a really tough time with this lineup. So I'm going to say they take at least 3, take the over.
Okay. Matt?
Jeez. Well, the only ones left are 1 or 4. So either or 0, I guess, but that's just like, wow. Well, first things first, I saw someone ask where I'm at because it's light out. I'm in Washington State right now, so it's only 8:30. So I still got 2 hours before my bedtime, so, I'm living. But anyways, I tend to lean towards 2-2, just for what Lucas said. You're getting Bieber and Clevenger, 2 of the best starters, not just in the AL Central, in the American League as a whole, maybe all of baseball as a whole. They're very good starting pitchers. And while the Twins have an improved starting rotation, they still don't quite have those top dogs. I still think Bieber and Clevenger are both better than Barrios or Hill or anyone else that the Twins have. So those are going to be really tough games to take. Not impossible, of course, but tough games to take. Carrasco was kind of hit or miss last year. We still don't know where he's at. And then I think it's Savali, the last one. So those ones are kind of the wild cards. I think they have a better chance of winning those. But all in all, I hate to do it. I'm going to go safe and say 2-2 also.
I'll take the over. I'll take 3-1. I'll be interested to see how this lineup fares against good pitching, though. I know that they can beat up bad pitching, and they can get pitching out of there in a hurry. I will say that it would be 2-2, except that we're going to get to their bullpen at some point. And I will also. I mean, there's a lot of intriguing matchups here. There's the unstoppable force meets the immovable object, right? There's the unstoppable Twins lineup meeting Cleveland's immovable starting pitching, right? There's also, our really good starting pitching facing their lineup that, is kind of top heavy. It reminds me a little bit of the Cardinals, who we just faced, where you get through, a little gambit and you've got a real chance of getting through a couple innings in a row. So I will say they will take 3 out of 4, especially at home, and we'll see how that plays out. Nick, any other questions in the chat that you want to take on?
Yeah, we've had a few people ask about Sano's status. I was just scrolling through Twitter, through my Twins feed, and I have not seen any updates. So as far as I know, everything's fine. He looked fine. I was saying on Twitter, he's off to a very rough start. I think he's 1 for 14 with 6 strikeouts, but I think he's taking pretty good at bats. I thought he laid off some tough pitches outside of the zone tonight. Obviously didn't get the results, but I'm going to go ahead and assume they had a 3-0 lead late in the game. They wanted to get some speed in the outfield with Whitefield and maybe just get Sano off his feet. So I think unless anyone else has heard anything, I don't think there's anything to worry about.
I've got texts out to a couple of people as well. I was also trying to get some word during here. I was just surprised that they pulled him so early with just a 3-0 lead. It's not like it was an 8-0 blowout or even a 5-0 blowout. And I can understand wanting to get Whitefield in there for some defensive pieces, but I'll be interested to see if we get some word on that. I'll be surprised if it was. I guess I'll be surprised if we see Miguel Sano tomorrow in the game. So it just seems like the sort of thing that doesn't just happen. It's not coincidence. So it's not random. I don't know. Let's see if there's anything else we want to kind of touch on. Anything else in the Q&A we should do? We want to try and respond to the questions that are there.
One person asked, why didn't they draft both Rogers? They definitely should have. They are the Twins after all.
Right.
But that'd be an embarrassment of riches, an embarrassment of Rogers at this point, as it were. Okay, that was bad.
All I want to say is because you brought up Tyler Rogers, I actually saw him pitch live. It was the AAA All-Star game they held in Tacoma, which isn't too far from my house. And, man, that was weird. It's just – you're just like, oh, here's this Tyler Rogers. Oh, he's related to Taylor. What is he doing? What is he doing out there? And it's just it looks like he, like granny bowling, like that type of arm slot. It's just the strangest thing you've ever seen in your life.
We got a question asking. I'm sorry.
When Tyler Rogers first came up last year, because he looks. They're identical twins, of course. They look exactly the same. I was working under the theory that the Twins had sent Taylor Rogers to the Giants bullpen to scout out trade targets for their deadline trade. But I don't know if they've ever been seen pitching at the exact same time. But
Well,
until I
could
know
be.
for sure, I'm sticking with my theory.
Well, we should be really pissed at them because we got Sam Dyson. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, Taylor blew it with
job
that
there,
scout
dude.
job.
They should fire him if they haven't already.
We got a question about, do you think they'll extend the starters a bit more this next time through the rotation, or is it 5 innings, the pen approach, going to be sustainable throughout the short season? My guess is, yeah, I'm sure they'll try to extend the starters, but it will be interesting to see how much Baldelli pulls the plug on a starter after 2 times through the lineup. You know, I mean, will he consistently just kind of go 5 and then I'm going to let you go out for 6, but I'm going to have somebody ready to go and jump in there? I wonder how many times we'll see a pitcher go even 6 innings, even if they're effective, like say Rich Hill was or Kenta Maeda was. You know, right now everybody's got the excuse that, you know, you don't want to build up their pitch count too much, but that goes away. You know, maybe not this next time through the rotation, but maybe it does, and certainly time after that. I'll be interested to see how much he wants to really stretch those guys, because he's got so many other weapons that he's not afraid to use.
Especially now that every single good team's going to make the playoffs. You know, if before that playoff change had came into effect, maybe he would have been more willing to push the starters a little further if they were on a roll because they want to win as many games as possible. I don't know. But now that every team is, you know, if you play well, you're going to make the playoffs. I could see them trying to pace it so that the pitchers, the starters are healthy and kind of peaking right at playoff time.
All right, I'm going to end the chat with one last topic, and that is that the White Sox got off to a rough start. They were 1-4. They went to 2-4 today when they blew up Brad Hand in the 9th inning and Lucas Giolito. But that means that they've gone through 6 games, and even if they go through, they'll have Keuchel on the mound again, but then they get back to the rest of that rotation. They seem to be struggling more than they thought they were. So I was kind of wondering just how safe Rick Renteria's job is. Turns out in Vegas, there are odds on such things. On the first manager to be fired in Major League Baseball, you gotta love betting. I'll notice that Rocco Baldelli is towards the bottom of it at 40-1. Right, Terry Francona at 50-1. So Cleveland's guy's safe. I was surprised to see that even before the losing streak, Rick Renteria of the Chicago White Sox is at a higher odds to be fired than Ron Gardenhire of the Detroit Tigers, and the Detroit Tigers are 4-2. On the one hand, I would say that that bodes well for Ron Gardenhire. On the other hand, if they go something like 6-2 and get hopes up, and then they become the Tigers again, maybe it doesn't bode as well for Ron Gardenhire. So I guess my question is, so if you take a look also at the list, you know, the top ones are sort of crummy teams, right? You got Scott Cervais from Seattle. You got Brandon Hyde. He's Baltimore. Dave Robert. Then you got, and you know, Rick Renteria from the White Sox. Renteria does make some sense because it has some real expectations, and they're also a team that could make the playoffs, right? Like I think they would probably view themselves in the same way we viewed them once that 16-team playoff format came through, which is like, we're in. We just can't screw this up. So if they do fall out of that thing and they start out below 500, it looks like they're in danger. Do we think Rick Renteria of the White Sox could be in trouble?
I have a hard time seeing it, but then again, who knows in a season of this length? I mean, it's like you would never imagine a manager being in trouble if his team started 10-20, but now, I mean, maybe that's a fireable offense. I don't know. I will say, looking at this list, I'm shocked that Derek Shelton is so high. They just hired him. I mean, like, what would he have to do to get fired? I mean, he has a higher chance of getting fired than Ron Gardenhire. That blows my mind.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, both of them get nice low expectations, which is
right.
But
at least Shelton's new and young. I mean, Gardenhire doesn't exactly have much of a future there, I don't think. But
right. All right. I don't know. Any other topics anybody wants to cover? Or should we wrap it up?
Well, we can hit on the White Sox. I'm always down for that.
All right. Okay. Well, I want to thank our panelists, Matt Braun, Luke Seehafer, and Nick Nelson. I hope you'll thank them in the chat area if you haven't already. Thank you, everyone, for joining the post-game pint. And a special thanks for those of you who were courageous enough to contribute or participate. If you missed any of this, you can find a recording of it tomorrow mornings on the Twins Daily Facebook page, also on our Twins Daily YouTube page, also on the Twins Daily Game Recap. It'll be out there as well. Our next post-game pint will be tomorrow night. I think it's an hour earlier, right? Tomorrow night's game is at 6 o'clock, I think, not at 7 o'clock.
Is it Cleveland? Oh, no, it's here. I think tomorrow's 7 and Saturday is 6.
By the way, I just heard from Seth, who was listening to the Rocco Baldelli Zoom press conference, that the Sano replacement was, quote, planned. So it seems to have been they were going to have him out there for a little while and then pull him out. Surprises me, but okay. So no concerns there. Yeah, so I think our next game is tomorrow at 6. So the post game pint will probably be around 9 o'clock. I'll be hosting again. I know Jeremy Nygaard's going to be there. I think Nick, are you scheduled again, or is it Seth?
Nope, I'll be here Saturday.
Okay, probably so. So we hope you guys can make it there. If you're ever wondering whether or not there's a post-game pint on tap, just go to postgamepint.com. That directs you to the feed where you'll be able to find a link to go join us. And we'll see you tomorrow night, and win Twins.
Thanks, everybody.